Hello, thank you. I was honored to be asked to make some comments up here. And most people, when they see me up here, they think that I'm the photographer, and that's about all I do is document these particular activities. But that's different from what I am. I've been an activist for over 40 years. And just the question of documenting these is because we realized when we used to demonstrate in front of DTE about cutting off the electricity 40 years ago, when we demonstrated about cutting off the water. The media, we were lucky if the media came out to the demonstrations. If they did come out, we only saw 3 seconds or a minute worth of news when it came to 6 o'clock, 12, 11 o'clock reporting. So we said it was important that we document these kind of things ourselves. So I took on that little initiative to try to document these demonstrations and so forth. And what happens, it was so funny, is that a lot of times we would go to the demonstrations that Nam was having, and Charles Jr. would say, well, how'd you know about this? And I would say, your father called me up and let me know. And then the next demonstration take place, and he said, how'd you find out about this? And I said, your father called me and let me know. So it was so funny that he kept asking me, at first, but it was very important that we continue to do the work that we do, because we have to recognize that there is a difference in the society as far as the racism and the class struggle that exists inside society. And if anything's going to change, it means that we have to be active in regards to doing it. And so I know they pointed out this whole question about one of the buses caught on fire. We done went out of town various ways, but one of the things when I first met Charles Williams Sr. was that we were going to some demonstration, and we were waiting for the buses to come, and they were maybe 2.5 hours late. So finally they came, and I had met a friend that I hadn't saw in a long time that was the sister of a friend, one of my running buddies, which was Mark Bethune, who got killed by the police. And so I was talking with her all night. So anyway, when it came to getting on the bus, I got ready to go on the bus with her. And Charles Sr. had said they were only letting the senior citizens on the bus. So I told the young lady, she was about as old as I was, I told her, let's go so we can get on the bus quick. So we went to walking out that place over there on the boulevard, and got close to the bus, and Charles Sr. said, young man, we only taking the senior citizens first. And I said, well, okay, thanks, I'm a senior citizen. So that was like the first entry that we had when he was trying to turn things. I said, I love them comments when people think I'm a lot younger than what I am. So anyway, that was something that that stood out in regards to the history. But again, I think it's needed. We don't tend to recognize people for what we do as activists. No one tends to give us any praise, and then we try to be so militant. We say, well, we don't need to be recognized. I'm doing what needs to be done. And that's a particular way to be strong, but it's always is welcome for somebody to recognize your contribution, because at any time you can say, I done made my contribution. I done saw so many people in my life says, well, I'm tired of this. I just want to pursue my own goals and my own career and retire and not be going to these demonstrations. But for me, it's demonstration until I die. Until we change the society, and that'll be in a more society that's more humanistic and looks out for all of the people in our society, not just the privileged, not just the millionaires and billionaires. We need to continue to do the struggles that is necessary. So based on that, that's one of the reasons I came down here. My little token present to senior. I looked all this morning trying to find pictures with you in it, but you're in here, but it's your son. We did at the Ayana's memorial service that took place. And I looked and I said, I don't know where you were at, because you normally are right next to him. So anyway, I hope you appreciate that. And I just want to thank you for your contributions. And the reason I'm here tonight, Charles, is because your father asked me to come. So anyway, thank you, man.
Sam has to leave, so he's gonna. I'm sorry, Sam. Come and talk about the activists. You know, I
Anyway, you know, when I first met Reverend Williams, both of them, Reverend Charles II was a teenager. So that probably predates a lot of the associations with man and whatnot. And as a matter of fact, Reverend Sharpton, myself, and Reverend Horace Sheffield have been crisscrossing the nation, growing the Word network to where it is now, I guess, in millions, tens of millions of American homes. But I can remember when both Reverend Williams and Reverend Williams II, his son, walked into Reverend Sheffield's church office, and I thought it was really an unusual situation because usually, you know, these Detroit ministers are so competitive and whatnot. And yet here was a minister walking with his son into another minister's office and, you know, basically standing with his son as his son said that he wanted to do some work with Reverend Sheffield and the National Action Network. And the next thing I knew, some of you have heard this story before, matter of fact, it's posted on my Facebook page today, a picture of myself, Dick Gregory, and Reverend Williams II getting arrested in Washington, D.C. And it just seems like the type of father that can raise a son in such a respectful manner that the son can look at me and Dick Gregory and say, Mr. Riddle, Mr. Gregory, will it be okay if I go to jail with you guys? Well, a decade and a half later, I look up in Illinois on national news, he's still going to jail. And his father's going to jail with him. Well, I did a little jail time too. Something not quite as honorable. But, you know, and that is a story too. And it's a story of redemption. Because when I was released from prison, federal prison, the first folks to greet me were both Reverend Williams.
All right.
They said, we got a little work for you. What do you mean? I've been doing my little work. Well, we got a little work for you. The next thing I know, I'm working with the National Action Network. But what that talk speaks to again is the quiet strength of leadership. Because during a time when we see the almost total dysfunctionality, and this ain't Daniel Moynihan, this is us observing us, when we see the total dysfunctionality of the black family in Detroit and throughout urban America, when we see what poverty and drugs and self-destructive, self-hate can do, behavior, you look at one family that throws themselves into the betterment of a people, not self-enrichment. And you got the Williams family. We have 3 generations of them here today. A young baby, which makes you a grandpa. You might be in denial, but you're a grandpa. and that's a good thing. Because when we hear about baby's daddy, baby's mama, but the fathers are gone, we don't know where, we don't know if they'll ever return. What do we have here? But a living role model of what we can be, what our neighborhoods can be. Last Saturday when I was here, and the mother was out digging holes for flowers in front of the historic King Solomon Baptist Church. I mean, what is that but a living example of what we can all be? You know, you talk about blight removal and all that they're making an industry out of in Detroit right now, and we'll be fighting for our fair share of that too. But you look at this family and the giving that they do, and that's under the co-leadership of the mother and father, the matriarch, the patriarch of the Williams family. And I think they're a living testimony to what we can be. And you know, that bus fire was really a big deal. Yes, it was. Because there was leadership exhibited there on the part of the elder, Reverend Williams. I heard the testimonials given over here when we had a meeting following up our trip to Washington. And speaker after speaker talked about how this military veteran, disabled military veteran, exercised quiet leadership and gave people the confidence and the strength to exit the bus, move to safety, and just kept working until that damn bus was emptied with no serious injuries. And certainly no deaths. Because, and you know, for that alone, we applaud, because NAN is more than just another Detroit organization. You know, as we work still within the framework of the time allocated for this Saturday morning meeting right now, understand that there are many organizations in Detroit that profess to exercise leadership, but they don't function as a family. And this is one organization without the petty bickering and petty jealousies that continues to operate as a real family. Because in this operation, and believe me, you got a cross-section of strong personalities here. We have learned to suffocate our egos for a greater good, and there's no better example of that than the elder Reverend Williams. And again, when you've been released from a prison and you get out and somebody welcomes you with open arms and then has genuine work for you to do that's productive, and I look at the fact that there are more University of Prison graduates in Detroit than Michigan State, University of Detroit, Wayne State, and Michigan State combined, all I can say is that you are a living testimony of what all of us should be, and we've got to strive for. So just thank you, Reverend Williams.
Tell everybody it was 1 minute. I even brought a gong with me, but out there. So I want to say something about Mrs. Williams. We got to give them their time because I know we all got something to do, but give us a few little minutes here because I want to say that there's a poem by Barbara J. Burroughs. That woman is a success, who loves life and lives it to the fullest. That woman is a success who has discovered and shared the strength and talents that are uniquely her own. That woman is a success who puts her best into each task, plant flowers in front of the church, and leaves each situation better than she found it. That woman is a success who seeks and finds that which is beautiful in all people and all things. That woman is a success whose heart is full of love and warm with compassion and has found joy in living and peace within herself. So we thank you today, Mrs. Williams. We acknowledge you today. We appreciate you today. And the essence of you, the person, for what you do for lives that you touch. We see that manifestation in your family, your husband, your son, your daughter, your grandbaby. And those activists and the Nan family, we've embraced you, so we know you are our family now too. Okay, I'm gonna try to speed it up. Aletha is gonna come up and we're gonna present Reverend Williams with Lila is gonna speak too, but I wanted to present something to Mrs. Williams first. Yeah. Before you, Reverend Williams. Yeah, it's all right. And we have this little card, and someone said, this picture doesn't have anything to do with him. This is a picture of the legends that Oprah Winfrey honored, black women. Black women, many of them have gone on. But this is the strength that we see today in the black women. And we wanted to present this to you, even though we're just ordinary, and we couldn't give you no diamond earrings like Oprah gave them. And people said that was too much. But you know what she said? It really wasn't enough.